Just witnessed something in the NBA that we haven't seen in a long time. Two teams who are considered favorites to represent their conference in the NBA Finals just traded all-stars with each other. The New York Knicks and Minnesota Timberwolves just completed one of the most shocking trades in NBA history. In the stealth of a Friday night, the Minnesota Timberwolves sent what was once considered to be a franchise player over to the Big Apple, while the New York Knicks sent the one free agent they could actually get before it was a cool thing to come back to New York again, and some brotherly love over to Minnesota. Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo are now heading to the Central Time Zone to play with the Western Conference finalist Minnesota Timberwolves. In order to financially complete the deal, the Timberwolves are also receiving a protected first-round pick from the Knicks, but to be honest, this will end up being 2 seconds most likely. They also had to send some cash along with Daquan Jeffries. But now the real question: who won the trade? But before we get into why these organizations actually pulled the trigger on this deal, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell so when you know when the next banger is gonna drop. Okay, let's start with the Knicks. Holy moly, one of the biggest issues the Knicks were dealing with heading into this season was the big man position. They lost Hartenstein to OKC Thunder after they gave him a big old bag of cash this offseason, and then they were dealt another blow just last week when it was announced Mitchell Robinson was not going to be ready for the start of the season, and that left them with no one at the center position. Julius Randle was obviously going to be a big part of this Knicks team. He's someone who in the past has averaged over 20 points and 10 rebounds a game as a New York Knick. He made an all-star team and even an all-NBA team as a member of the New York Knicks, and again was one of the few guys that would come to New York when no other free agent would. And one of the biggest impacts about losing somebody like Julius Randle is that when Jalen Brunson is doing so much of the offensive lifting, Randle was one of the few guys that could come in and actually take over for him and give him a spell. They are going to be missing that. But here is what they're getting in Karl-Anthony Towns. A true big guy, a 2-time NBA All-Star, a 3-point champion, and spacing that could make life so much easier for the rest of the Bing Bong Boys of New York. Cat can still provide the big presence down low on both sides of the court, but now as Brunson is weaving in and out of the paint and getting to the elbow to hit that patented jumper, he no longer has to avoid the bigs of Mitch Rob, Julius, and iHeartRadio. Because Karl-Anthony Towns is such an efficient 3-point shooter that he now will be able to play 5 out. Of course, losing the shooting and Villanova vibes of Dante is a bummer of a storyline, but now you have Brunson running the point, Josh Hart filling in wherever he's needed, and of course this will be the 2 this time. You have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby flipping coins to decide who's guarding the 3 and the 4, and then Cat at the 5. That is a dangerous starting 5. But is it better than the Boston Celtics? I don't know. You tell me in the chat. It might not be better yet, but they are sure a lot closer today than they were a week ago. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves, what are you doing? The Timberwolves are coming off one of their more successful runs in recent history. Anthony Edwards is becoming a superstar right in front of our eyes, not only on the national level, but the international level as he was representing Team USA over in France as they won gold this season. And they had one of the more intriguing off seasons up until this point. Sure, they lost Kyle Anderson, Mr. Slow-Mo, who was a big part of their bench unit, but then trading in the draft to get Rob Dillingham and stealing Terrence Shannon Jr. much later in the draft. They were bringing back one of the best defenses in the league, an MVP caliber young superstar in Anthony Edwards, and were fresh off a trip to the Western Conference Finals after dismantling the defending champs and the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. And then you trade your second best player? A major subplot heading into this offseason for the Timberwolves was the ownership. Famously, Alex Rodriguez and company purchased the team, and then current owner Glenn Taylor said not so fast. And it was weird. There was a lot of public stuff out there that we probably normally wouldn't care about, but because it was A-Rod, we listened. And now we might be seeing the effects of this. Karl-Anthony Towns was due so much money. He is currently under a 4-year, $224 million Supermax deal. He'll make $52.3 million this year, $56 million next year, $59 the year after that. And then in the 27-28 season, he'll be making $63 American dollars. Now, that is a lot of money knowing that he's going to be your second, maybe third best guy. But you know what? That's what you have to do if you're a serious team. And we learned this weekend that the Minnesota Timberwolves are not a serious team. I'm a Julius Randle fan. I really am. But if you think the spacing was weird for Anthony Edwards with Rudy Gobert and Cat on the floor together, well, let me introduce you to Orange Julius. The leadership of the Timberwolves did not make this move to make the team better. There's no way that you can look at the current roster construction and say the Minnesota Timberwolves are better today than they were yesterday. At least not in the short term. They made this move for one reason and one reason only, and that was to save money. Randle is an expiring contract this year, and if the fit doesn't make sense early, he can take it to the bank that Randle will be moved come trade deadline. And as a basketball fan, it was a bummer to see the Timberwolves make this move when they were so close. Like we said earlier, they took out Nikola Jokic and the defending champs on the road, Game 7, down 20, and showed that they were a real team. And then you compare that to what the New York Knicks just did, it couldn't be more opposite. The Knicks said, we'll pay you, Cat. They're all in. They believe they are one piece away, so much so that they are reuniting karl-Anthony Towns with Tibbs. You remember that, Minnesota Timberwolves fans? Get your popcorn ready. We are just a couple weeks away from the NBA season, and we're already heating up. Let me know in the chat your thoughts on the trade, and thanks for watching.